Hi guys, welcome back. This is Shauna. I just want to start this video by telling you that I am not a homeschool expert. I'm not. I am just a mom who's trying to do the best that she can for her family in our decision to homeschool. Through my journey and trying to find resources and curriculum, I have seen a lot of YouTube videos about homeschooling. I found many websites and curriculum about homeschooling. And one of the things that I have found to be seriously underrepresented is secular homeschoolers. So in all of my struggles and all of my searching, I have found that there are probably other people who share and express the same concerns that I have, who are also not hearing a voice like theirs. They are not finding the person who speaks to their real and true needs. The 2020-2021 school year is going to be our 4th year of homeschooling. It's going to be our first year homeschooling both girls. If you are coming to homeschooling because of the insane circumstances of the spring of 2020, you may be feeling like a fish out of water. I know that when I decided to homeschool, when we chose as a family to homeschool, we didn't know where to look. It was very hard to find a voice that really spoke to our family. Both Paul and myself work. I've been self-employed for over 10 years, working both out of and in the house. Paul has a traditional 9-to-5, and we also preferred a secular path to our homeschooling. Those voices are severely underrepresented out in the homeschool land. It tends to be people who are homeschooling for different reasons than we have chosen to. And so because of that void, I've decided to share what we've learned along our journey because other people may find that quite helpful, especially now as more people are turning to homeschooling this coming year. I am here with 20 A+ homeschooling tips for success. So my very first tip, and quite honestly, the most important before you start anything else, is going to be know your why. Why are you choosing to homeschool? This is one of those things that when you have it, when you have a clear, concise reason for homeschooling, it will get you through the struggles that are sure to come along with educating your own child. It's not easy. You live with these people all the time. If you can know your why, it can get you through those humps and slumps. Our why for beginning to homeschool is that our oldest daughter seemed to be ahead of her grade level and the other kids her age in her preschool classes. She seemed to catch on to things very quickly, and she seems to learn quite well in less traditional ways, which are not frequently taught in a public school setting. So we decided that we would like to keep her ahead, and so we began homeschooling. We decided to start with homeschooling and to see how it went. So we know our why. Your why can be as simple as wanting more freedom in the choices that you have, wanting to spend more family time together. One of my primary whys, definitely not the top one, and my husband would argue with this, is that I like to travel. Travel's a lot cheaper and a lot less busy when kids are in school. So being able to travel while the majority of kiddos are stuck in a classroom is really a huge benefit to me and a big why for why we homeschool. My second tip for homeschooling success is to prepare your response ahead of time. People will have very, very strong opinions about what you are choosing to do with your child. Frequently, it's family, friends. It is almost always someone who just does not understand why you would decide to go against the commonly accepted forms of education and to do this yourselves. Your life can be made so much easier if you prepare a canned response ahead of time. When you hear these negative words, just let them roll off your back, spit out what you've prepared ahead of time, and move on with your day. Don't let it stick around. Don't let it bother you. These people are not going to understand what you've chosen, and they probably won't even come around until they see the benefits that your kid is experiencing through homeschooling. Frequently, the people closest to us are the ones who can be the most judgmental about these decisions. So one of the things that we try to do is just wrap it up with a neat bow, but close it off. There's no more discussion. We have chosen to homeschool because we feel like this is what is best for our child at this time. If that ever changes, we'll reevaluate what we're doing. Put that period on that, close it up, and let it go. That statement covers why you're doing it. It also covers that you have accepted that you may not do it forever, but it shuts down those people who are going to ask those questions, how long you plan to do it, why you're doing it, yada, yada, yada. Just have your statement, make it clear, shut it down. Tip number 3 for homeschooling success is to research and plan. So while homeschooling is legal in all 50 states, it comes with different laws and different requirements in each state. It can be hard to figure out what that is in your state. So I do recommend doing a quick Google search. Every state has some sort of organization or coalition that's dedicated to both educating homeschooling families about the laws and requirements, but also advocating for their rights. Most of them sell some sort of membership that can help you stay in the loop on homeschooling changes in your state and area. Be sure that while you are doing your research and planning, if you are planning to transition from a public school to homeschooling, that you follow all of the steps necessary to formally withdraw your child from school. If you don't, you could run into issues with truancy laws, attendance, things like that. So be sure before you choose to do this that you are on the up and up and you've done everything that you need to do to properly set out on good footing with homeschooling in your state. Number 4 tip for successful homeschoolers, number 4 tip for successfully homeschooling is to predefine success. So before we began this whole process, we knew that Amelia was ahead of where she needed to be. In my mind, and because my husband wasn't on board, so one of the things that we talked about was how we would know if we were being successful. As far as your child's abilities, what they're learning, what they're retaining, you're gonna know that because you're teaching them. You're completely hands-on, you're never out of the loop. So you'll know where they're struggling and where they're doing well. It was very important to us to be realistic with ourselves and to decide ahead of time what success looked like for us, for our situation. So success for us is keeping her ahead of where she would be in her same grade level or with kids her own age. She started out that way, and so if at any point we aren't keeping her in that position, if she's slipping back, if she's backsliding, that's not success. So we know what success means to us so that we can ensure that we are on point with what we're doing. We can know if and when we need to change that. We believe that if we begin to do her a disservice, if she is no longer gaining traction or holding firm, if she begins to slip, then we are no longer the best choice. We have decided that ahead of time. That will help us by predefining success. That will help us know and to be honest with ourselves on whether or not this continues to be the best path. Number 5 for homeschool success is to choose a curriculum. You may be wondering how to do that. The easiest place to start is to choose whether or not you will be using a secular homeschool curriculum or a non-secular homeschool curriculum that tends to be more based on faith and religion. This automatically will divide your wide range of choices in about probably like a 60-40 split, if I'm being honest. There just aren't as many secular curriculum choices as there are non-secular or religiously motivated curriculum choices. From there, you can get an idea of what pieces you want to look for. Maybe you have a kiddo who's got a great interest in history, and so you want to go with a very robust history curriculum. You can look up reviews on all of those things, and one of the sites that I recommend is kathyduffyreviews.com. They review both secular and non-secular choices, and it is a very in-depth curriculum choice review site. Most areas have a homeschool bookstore where you can go in, get your hands on things, and look at them. There are also many secondhand homeschool bookstores or half-price books is in our area where you can go in and look at these things in person, which may help you decide how to choose your curriculum. Number 6 tip for homeschool success is to get yourself a schedule. So once you've chosen your curriculum pieces, you can pull them all out. You can see how many lessons, units, or pages they have so that you can be sure to properly keep up with getting all of that work done in your school year. Now, you may choose to year-round school, which is very common among homeschoolers because they have the flexibility to do that. A little less school every day, but it goes a little longer. You may choose to stick with the public school setup of about 36 weeks for your school year, and that's okay too. But you need to know if your history curriculum has 42 chapters, but you're planning for a 36-week school year, then you know that you're going to need to do a little extra sometimes in order to complete it. It is very important to stay on a schedule. Some sort of loose daily schedule can also help ensure that you're doing enough schoolwork to get it all done. Be sure that it comes up a little bit every day. Staying on schedule is a big responsibility. Homeschooling is a big responsibility. Don't drop the ball by failing to schedule in schoolwork. On that note, let me flip over to tip number 7, which is don't overschedule. There is no reason to try to replicate an 8-hour school day in your home. There is so much time spent in school that is not actually learning. And that's okay. Don't work yourselves or your kids to death trying to do everything all at once. Also, don't take on more curriculum than you need to. Start with the basics, do exactly what you need to, maybe add in something if they have a particular interest in it, because that's the easiest way to get your kids to learn, but don't overdo it. Remember that flexibility is great and you've got the power to do that. You do not have to do it all, and you certainly don't have to do it all right now. Please do not overwhelm yourself or your child with doing too much, too often, for too long. Number 8 tip is to take it seriously, but relax. Deciding to educate your children yourselves is a big responsibility. You are responsible for what they're learning, how they're learning it. It can be a big job and really overwhelming. If you drop the ball on following through with that, then that means your child is not getting educated. And that's a really big deal. It is important to be honest with yourself to know if you can genuinely fit this into your schedule, and also if you will. Many people can, but not everyone will. If you are being 100% truthful with yourself, you need to be sure that what you're doing is truly the best for you, truly the best for your child, and that you're going to follow through. With that being said, relax. It is a big responsibility, but you don't have to know how to do everything. All of the curriculum I've come across have some sort of teacher's guide that tells you how to do this. You don't have to take it super seriously. That's okay. If something comes up today and you miss a lesson, you're one behind, so what? The glory of homeschooling is that you are afforded the freedom, that flexibility, and that wiggle room. But don't take advantage of it too often. Give yourself and your child some grace, but don't get lazy. My number 9 tip is to devote a space to schooling and supplies that are specifically schooling. One of the things that I remember from being young and starting a new school year was going to the store and picking out adorable folders and cute pencils. Those things are still really exciting even when you homeschool. So it can be really important and really helpful for you as a family, your kid is a student, if you devote a space to their homeschooling. We used our dining table for quite a while. We had a cabinet adjacent to that where she could put all of her schoolwork away, but it was close and easily accessible to where she would do her work. Since then, we have built a desk system, which I'll probably share at a later date, that houses her curriculum, but it is her place to work. We don't always stay there, but she has a space that is dedicated to her schoolwork where she can sit properly and write properly like at a desk. And nearby, she has her collection of supplies that are specifically for schoolwork. So we have lots of toys and art things, whatever, that they can get with any time. But there are some things that are reserved for schoolwork, so that when she sits down to write, we know where to find a pencil. That can take up so much time if you don't have your things organized, kept together. So I would recommend devoting both a space and supplies just for school. It is very important to be sure that you have a space dedicated to schoolwork, but it can be equally important to remember that you can change the venue. We have packed up a backpack and headed to the coffee shop. That's where we've done spelling because it's fun. You have the flexibility, remember, and the freedom to homeschool anywhere. Get on the couch, snuggle up under a blanket and read those read-alouds. I guarantee you it is so much more enjoyable to remember that you can hang out under a tree to read, you can snuggle on the couch to read, you can take math work on the road. We do the large amount of our history in the car on our way to other things. She reads along, we play the audio CD, and we learn together as a family. It's a great way to do that. Being able to change the venue makes everyone feel like they're getting a special treat, but you're still getting the job done of educating your kiddo. So my number 11 tip, which I think frequently gets forgotten, in homeschooling. There tends to be a primary schooling parent. I myself am that. It can be really easy to forget that you should include the rest of the family. My kiddos love to get dad involved with science experiments. We'll do them together as a family. It is really helpful to me as a parent of two, one being 4 years younger, to sit everyone together and do anything that we're reading aloud together. It is so helpful to remember that it's not all on you. Get everyone involved. Do it together, make it enjoyable. We've done several of our graphic novels as bedtime stories. Our geography, This Is the World book is gorgeous, and we enjoy just reading it together. Include your family, because this is a family decision that you've made to educate your kiddos at home in your family space. Learning can be and should be enjoyed together and shared. So my number 12 tip for homeschool success is to focus on your child's strengths and joys. Because you can. You are 100% in control of tailor-making an educational situation that is suited best for this child. Don't miss taking advantage of that. If you have a kid who's great at math, get more math. Figure out how to work math into the other subjects where maybe it's not going as well. If what brings them joy is art, figure out how to incorporate more art into the other subjects. You have the power to control what's going on here and to make this entire educational endeavor exactly what they need to have the most success, to be their best self. So please, remember that you can play up what works. If they learn best through an app or through a TV show, find one that applies to what you're doing and use it. Tip number 13 is to get creative with struggles. There's going to be a few. Get creative with how you're solving those struggles and ask for help if you need it. Sometimes I have a really hard time explaining something to Amelia. What seems really simple to me doesn't translate well to her. And that's when I have to tap out and call my husband. He tries a different way. And guess what? It almost always works. Don't get stuck. Remember to keep getting creative and thinking outside of the box. Sometimes what you need is a break. If that's it, take a break. Stop for the day. Go outside. Try anything else. Make a game out of something if they're working really hard. They're not learning fractions, have them help you bake something. Measuring cups are all fractions. You are not at the mercy of a school board. You are not a teacher who has to answer to other parents. You can do whatever it takes to help your child learn and grow. So please don't hesitate to ask for help. It is not failing if you just need some help to explain it in a different way. Everyone learns differently. Very realistically, it is unlikely that you and your child are going to learn things the same way or find the same information helpful. If Uncle Timmy has a math degree, call him, get him over to your house. Number 14 in successful homeschooling tips is to use outside resources. So getting creative with your struggles means that maybe you're gonna find something else to use. I very frequently will pull up a magic school bus that's about whatever science topic we're going over, because I have that at my disposal. If you need a catchy language arts or math song, Schoolhouse Rock, those things are awesome. We've got games that we use, streaming services, Google. We've had some art lessons at the art museum. Do not hesitate to use the amazing wealth of resources that are available to you. It keeps all of this a lot more fun. Tip number 15 in successful homeschooling tips is to become a member. We have been members of places that are close to us: the zoo, the art museum, the children's museum, the science museum, Moody Gardens down in Galveston. We have purchased memberships because frequently they will pay for themselves in as little as 2 visits. We go to these places a lot. We incorporate field trips and day trips out into our schooling as frequently as I possibly can. So I recommend utilizing those memberships. Frequently, it will save you a ton of money in just purchasing tickets to get in if you go 2 or more times. They have frequent member-only events, special talks, tickets, exhibits. It is a great way to bring some extra to your homeschooling situation if you can take a field trip to the zoo to learn about the life cycle of an elephant. I mean, these are things that you definitely want to have your children have the experience of. And so by purchasing a membership to these places, it ensures that you're going to go frequently, and it is often tax deductible. So get it, buy it, use it, write it off. Another fun fact is our zoo membership is actually part of an organization, the AZA Reciprocal Admissions Program. So I can use my Houston Zoo membership in San Antonio for a discount there. So these memberships really can add up and save you a ton of money over the course of a year. Number 16 on our list of A+ homeschool tips is to take advantage of perks. Many people don't know that there are perks to be had for homeschooling. The Children's Museum of Houston actually offers the same membership to homeschoolers as it does to teachers and educators. And so it saves you quite a bit of money, and you get more teacher-geared perks for that. Frequently, you can get membership discounts at various places, discounts on books. Like I believe you can join the Barnes & Noble program for free as a teacher with being a homeschooler. You can also get discounts on supplies. So be sure and look up what perks you can get in your area for the things you're going to do purchase by anyway. Number 17 is to remember to get social. One of the largest complaints, questions, concerns you will ever hear from people is about socialization. Your kids are going to socialize. It's almost inevitable if you do any kind of extracurricular. My kids dance, and there's actually a large homeschooling network there at this specific dance studio. We are out and about in our community, visiting the zoo, places, cousins. We are out and about all the time. But it's very easy when you are both staying home and home educating to forget how important it is to get out and get social. So don't slack on that. It doesn't take as much effort as people are convinced that it does, but you do have to get out the house. So don't forget to get out the house. Socialization can be just as important for your student as it is for you. Mom is hard working, okay? It is hard work these days to be a parent. Don't let it also be isolating, because then it is a harder job, a much harder job if you are carrying this entire burden on your own. What you need is, number 18 tip, to find your tribe. It is very easy for me to talk about this, and I know how hard and daunting and awkward it can seem. I got lucky. I happened into my tribe. Again, our dance studio has a large homeschooling network, so I just happened into those people that I can call and ask questions of. At some point, I was gonna have to put some effort into it, and I hadn't done it yet. My tips for you on how to do this: there are Facebook groups in every area devoted to homeschoolers in that area. Field trip groups, every area devoted to homeschoolers in that area who want to take field trips together and go on group outings. You can find resources through the state organization pages that I mentioned earlier. Frequently we'll have a list of all of the homeschool groups in the state area. They keep track of them so that you can reach out and find them if you need help or a tribe. There are co-ops, meaning people who are using the same kind of curriculum in the same areas will get together and do some classes together. It's a great way to find your tribe. Find your tribe. Go to your local homeschool bookstore and see if they know of it. The homeschooling groups are there. You have to find them. Please don't do this alone. It is easier with the group. And I'm not saying that you have to agree with everybody's beliefs on all of these things. The people that I love that homeschool, they are secular homeschool, non-secular homeschool, all out school, no school, unschool. Please Just find your tribe. It'll help you, your kids, your families. Find those people and then latch onto them and love them. Having that network of fellow homeschoolers can really get you through the hard days and the struggles because you will have them. These people will also let you know about things you hadn't thought about. Like we have some wonderful homeschool friends who have their oldest daughter just graduated. We are now close enough proximity to someone who's got that experience all the way from kinder through graduation, college application and acceptance. And it's really nice to know that I can ask her, well, where did she learn calculus? What should I outsource? Having these people is a wealth of information and knowledge that whether it's applicable to you now or later will come in handy. Winding down our list here, our number 19 tip is to reassess often. It is important to not just keep doing something. You need to know, remember we are why, is that still true? And then we've predefined our success. Is that still true? You need to reassess what you're doing often. Think about it like this. If your kid goes to public school, you get a progress report every 6 weeks or 9 weeks at the end of every semester and grades at the end of every year. You need to be reevaluating what you're doing that frequently as well. So once you're doing a unit test in math, for example, be sure that they're passing and doing well. You need to be reassessing and reevaluating the choices that you're making both for curriculum and for your child. You need to do it, at the end of every semester, certainly before you look into the curriculum for the following year. Just make sure what you're doing is still working. And you need to remember, especially here, to be honest with yourself. Whether you're loving it or hating it, whether your kid is loving it or hating it, learning, not learning, be honest. And that brings me to my number 20 A+ homeschool tip, the very last one, know when to quit. It can be really hard if you want something to work badly enough to let it go, but there is a certain amount of maturity and wisdom that comes with those decisions of knowing when to step away. And I'm going to tell you, much like my theories on traveling or taking my kids anywhere, it's the smartest decision to do that before you're completely failing. If you can tell halfway through a semester that your kid's not getting it, that it's not working, maybe that's the time to switch. I wouldn't recommend giving up too soon because sometimes there's those hurdles, those humps that you get through, there's a breakthrough, and then it's easier to go from there. But you'll know when it's really not working. You'll know when it's come down to that point that you need to quit. There is no shame in that. There is only shame in sticking with something that doesn't work. And if you can recognize and be honest with yourself that what you're doing doesn't work and that you do need to change the game, then all along, just like you were trying to, you've kept your child's and your family's best interests at heart and you've put those needs first. Please, if stopping homeschooling is the right decision for you, do that. If sending them back to public school is right, do that. If getting a tutor to help you through some of the harder things is right, do that too. Don't be afraid or too ashamed to change the game. You're in control. You have the freedom and the power, but also the responsibility to know when you should stop doing this. Those can be really, really tough pills to swallow, and I hope that it never comes to that. But if it does, take a big gulp of water, swallow that pill down, and move on. You want to do, just like I do, everybody here wants to do what's best for your child and for your family. If it is no longer best for your child or for your family, maybe you just need a break. Maybe you need a mental health break, and that's okay. Know when to quit, and then do it. It is okay if you try homeschooling and then decide that it is not the best fit for you. There is no shame in that. It is 100% okay. Do not stick with something that makes you or your child unhappy. If anyone is suffering through this, then that's not the right choice. Just call it a loss, right your ship, and move on. So these have been my 20 top A+ homeschooling tips. These, I hope, will bring you success in everything that you're trying to do. Many of these I learned the hard way. And like I said before, it was hard to find a voice that really resonated with all of the kinds of homeschooling I'm going through. I hope that you have found this video informative. I hope that it can help you. Even if you just take one grain or one piece from it, take it, run with it, plant it, adapt it to what suits your life, what will work for you, your student, and your homeschooling. Just remember that we're all in this together. If you need any amount of help in anything, if there's any ounce of support that this group can give to you, please comment below, let us know, reach out, share your tips and tricks. I personally am still looking for the right fit for secular science and haven't found it. If you've got a great tip for that, please let me know, post the link down below and I will for sure look into it. Thanks so much for coming back. Be sure to scroll down, hit the thumbs up, push the big red subscribe button, so that you can know when we have new tips or fun things to share, and turn on that notification bell so that you're the first to know. Thanks so much for coming back.